Hi! Welcome to Catch and Release Outdoors. You are invited to watch The Narrow Escape, a cave adventure turned nightmare. In the summer of 1980, my friend, Dan, and a group of carefree teenagers embarked on a camping and fishing trip that would take a perilous turn. Little did they know that their journey into the depths of Gorman Falls cave would become a life-threatening ordeal.
As a reckless 17-year-old, I joined my friends on a camping and fishing adventure at a remote family fishing camp. None of us had any idea of the impending near disaster that awaited us. Just like many groups of teenagers in a small Texas town, we planned a weekend fishing trip on a friend's property by the river. The location, once called Gorman Falls Fishing Camp, is now known as Colorado Bend State Park. Saturday was filled with fishing and fun, and Saturday night was for camaraderie, storytelling, and perhaps a bit of overindulgence. We had stocked up with beer and liquor and were ready to party. After a morning of hangovers, some hair of the dog remedy, and a little breakfast, we decided to explore the Gorman Cave. In our small town, most male teenagers would carry rifles, lights, and other hunting equipment in our trucks. After a little thought, we figured we had what equipment we needed to go into the cave. Armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure, we embarked on a journey none of us would ever forget. Equipped with flashlights, headlamps, batteries, and a sense of invincibility, we ventured deep into the cave. We did not realize the hazards of cave exploration that we might encounter.
As the group ventured into the cave, they maintained their drinking momentum. Each member grabbed a beer, raising it for a toast to fortune. Conversations revolved around distributing the remaining beers and assigning flashlight duties. Among the 6 boys who entered the cave that day, only 5 flashlights were at their disposal. This meant that 2 of the boys would need to share a handheld light.
As we continued our journey through the cave, little did we realize that 2 of our friends had devised a plan to scare us. They intended to navigate a separate cave passage and meet us again at the point where the 2 passages converged. Remarkably, fate played a role in the outcome, as the mischievous boys happened to be the same 2 boys who were sharing the single flashlight.
While the main group of boys pressed on towards their destination at the end of the cave, they remained oblivious to the unfolding drama. Little did they know, the intended prank went awry as Lewis and Robert accidentally dropped and shattered their sole flashlight against the rocky cave floor. Consequently, Lewis and Robert found themselves plunged into darkness, devoid of any guiding light. Adding to their predicament, they failed to recognize a potential danger indicated on the map they had reviewed earlier at their campsite. Meanwhile, within the primary cave passage, the remaining 4 boys pressed forward on their quest to reach the cave's terminus. They navigated through waist-high waters, threading their way through constricting passages only as wide as their shoulders. Eventually, they arrived at a chamber known as the Bat Room. Their flashlight beams revealed a congregation of bats hanging from the ceiling. Respecting the bats' presence, the boys moved ahead in hushed tones. Finally, after passing through a spacious expanse, they reached a cavernous room, signifying the end of their cave exploration.
We made it to the end of the cave. This was as far as we could go, but we knew the map showed us another passage beyond the room of the cave we were in. However, to reach that passage, we would have to submerge ourselves and swim to the other side. Astonishingly, we entertained that thought for a brief moment. Luckily, recognizing our lights were not waterproof and that our batteries would not work underwater, and last, we were low on beers, we narrowly avoided a disastrous choice to swim underwater to the next passage, not thinking for 1 minute how that swim could have led us to tragedy.
In the midst of this, Lewis and Robert, with arms extended like blind men, navigated the pitch-black cave passage. Lost in the unforgiving darkness, their cries for help were rendered futile, swallowed by the resounding rush of flowing water. Unbeknownst to them, a nightmarish ordeal awaited the 2 boys. Referred to as the funnel, this feature was a nightmarish pit in the very passage they were lost within. The name aptly described its shape, funnel-like, with inclined sides leading downward into an abyss. Within this cavity, some 8 to 10 feet below, lay another cave passage that opened into an underground river.
We made our way back through the maze of passages towards the cave's entrance. As we emerged from the cave, fate introduced us to a group of cave-exploring college students. They were equipped with the tools we lacked. We exchanged swift greetings. Sharing our experiences and learning about their purpose, we parted ways and proceeded with our mission to return to camp.
The students from Southwest Texas State University embarked on an exploration of the Gorman Falls cave system. Their mission involved diving into the water at the very end of the cave, a decision the boys had just recently opted against.
As our group of 4 made it back to camp, dirty, wet, and tired, we opened a beer and continued with our routine. We snacked on junk food we brought with us for just this occasion. It was then, when one of our group asked, "Has anyone seen Lewis or Robert?" We began searching around the campsite for them. We had determined that Lewis and Robert must still be near the cave, or in the cave talking with the scuba divers. We grabbed our gear and began walking back to the cave. As we were walking to the cave, we saw Louis and Robert running towards us. The scuba divers were not far behind them. As Louis and Robert came closer, I saw they were muddy, wet, and looked scared. They greeted us with a happy hug. They began crying and told us about their harrowing experience in the cave. We quickly walked back to our campsite, the divers following us. Louis and Robert scrambled to their vehicles for a change of clothes.
As the boys were settled and got drink and food, the story unfolded. Both the boys and the student divers began telling the group their stories. We learned that as luck would have it, the student divers entered the cave and heard screams for help coming from within. The divers quickly found Lewis and Robert standing in knee-deep water in an underground river at the bottom of the funnel. The divers used their ropes and all their strength to pull the 2 boys to safety.
Thanks to those brave student cavers, Lewis and Robert escaped a tragic fate. I suppose our ignorance was bliss. We met our goal to explore the cave at Gorman Falls fishing camp and live to talk about it. It's a story we haven't shared often, but one that reminds us of the fragility of life.
Thus, this account of youthful escapade turned into a gripping saga of survival, continues to be a timeless memory etched in the annals of time. A stark reminder that perilous risks can shadow even the most spirited quests for enjoyment. Having internalized the lesson, those once boys are now grown, many of them bearing the titles of husbands and grandfathers. On this day, fate had other plans, deferring the group's rendezvous with death and destiny at such tender ages. It's a curious twist of fate, a testament to the unpredictable course of life.
Thanks for watching.
And until next time, Dan wishes you
tight lines
to all.